It's Super Bowl week, a tale of the tape, roster position by position, San Francisco 49ers versus Kansas City Chiefs. And as some teams prepare for the Super Bowl, everybody else is getting their staffs together. Kliff Kingsbury returned to the NFL and more. Coming up on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love all the everydayers out there. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And make every moment more with FanDuel, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, it's Super Bowl week. Tons of festivities happening in Las Vegas. Seeing I forget what they call the building that changes, like
it's the Sphere?
The dome. The Sphere, thank you.
Yeah, where YouTube plays and all that, yeah.
Yeah, it was Chiefs helmets, 49ers helmets. It's on. Everybody flying in with high winds, and people are having trouble with their flights, and unbelievable. But the teams are there. The media is there. The media day extravaganza starts Monday night, and so we'll have a lot of information on Tuesday's episode about all of that. But let's just get into the nitty-gritty in a bit here about the 49ers and the rosters. QB versus QB, and position by position, go down the tail of the tape of these two teams. But first, tons of news of the non-Super Bowl sector in the NFL, with a bunch of coordinators being hired over the course of the weekend. The head coaches are all set, but we're seeing the offensive and defensive staffs being set now for those new head coaches, including Kliff Kingsbury is the latest. Thought he might go to the Raiders on Friday. Turns out, no, the Raiders don't seal the deal on Kliff, but Kliff wants to be back in the NFL. So now he's going to be Dan Quinn's offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders, Matt, and have an opportunity to develop his own quarterback with the #2 pick, presumably. What do you think about Kliff coming back and that fit with the Commanders and that Commander staff now coming together with Dan Quinn on the defense and Kliff on offense?
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't have strong feelings about it, but I am a little shocked that Kliff got as much traction this last month as he did. It seems like he came up an awful lot. I do think he's still highly respected as an offensive mind. I was far from blown away with his Arizona offense, though. It was very static, and I didn't think it was particularly creative and really dependent on the quarterback making plays, and didn't think it helped the quarterback a lot. And I don't know. I mean, I don't have super strong feelings about it. There are some of these guys where I think it's clear, the Steelers offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, where they probably should never been head coaches. Kingsbury's a great example that if you just let him do offense, he really could be great. But when he had to do both, it was too much.
Where the Commanders could have been, I feel like they're getting a lot of sloppy seconds with the coaches.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of feel the same.
And I know in our mentions, the Commanders fans aren't super excited about the staff being put together. It could go great, but there's nothing about Kliff Kingsbury's offense in the NFL that told you, oh man, this is it right here. This is the guy, And there was talk of Chip Kelly last week potentially coming back.
I almost said his name thinking the same thing.
I was like, wait a second, did we not see how how
different now
bad his offenses were in the NFL compared to what he could do in college? I mean, I charted routes at Pro Football Focus for his one season in 2016 with the 49ers, and I started requesting to not have 49ers games because I was tired of looking at the mesh concept all day. It was just like crossers. What is it? Because he's got his go fast thing in college, and you can't go that fast in the NFL. And X's and O's is not where he was winning as a head coach. So the fact that a coach would want to go from head coach at a program like UCLA to offensive coordinator in the NFL might tell you something about maybe coaches aren't super happy in the college world right now. If everyone's trying to
I
come
think
back
that's
to
one of the biggest stories of this whole coaching cycle is guys like Halfley leaves Boston College. Pretty comfy job. Go be a coordinator. I think everyone wants out of college. I think college is a wild, wild west. If you don't have unbelievably amount of money, you can't go get the players. I mean, maybe that's why Saban hung it up. I mean, it's probably a big reason Harbaugh's a little different, but I think everyone wants out of college right now.
It's really interesting. Yeah, to go from head coach in college and prefer to be a coordinator in the NFL is something, and you don't see that move a lot. And we saw it with Halfley. There's rumors of Chip Kelly doing it, and Kliff obviously was not a head coach in college, but wants to come back to the NFL, give that another shot. So I don't know. It's hard to give the Commanders more than a grade of a C or maybe a K in this case. With Kliff and Dan Quinn. I mean, it could go okay. They're professional coaches, but I think not
a little more excited. Second overall pick,
new toys, more retread than I think a lot of Washington Commanders fans wanted there. And obviously we'll see how that roster build goes, which is a huge part of it. One of the things we didn't talk about, which I thought was a huge hire, is Bill Callahan leaving the Browns to go coach under his son Brian with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he's not only one of the great offensive line coaches in the NFL, but you get to steal away from a guy that hurts the Browns and helps the Titans quite a bit. And it's kind of cool that father and son get to coach together, I guess.
I think it hurts the Browns tremendously. I think it's a real I'm sure this was discussed during the hiring process. And I would imagine the Titans owner called the Browns owner and said, hey, how feasible is it that we get daddy away from you guys? And I'm sure the Browns were reluctant, but boy, that would be dirty pool to not let him do this at his stage of career, all that he's given you. So I bet the Titans knew this all along. And maybe that was enough to get Sonny Boy the job. I mean, he's having a great O-line coach. I say this all the time is one of my top 2 or 3 priorities when building a staff, including coordinators.
Right. Oh, you do. If you're ranking how you're building a franchise, you're an owner. You're like, okay, you got to have a GM, obviously, and you got to have a great head coach. Then you need a quarterback. Offensive line coach might be next.
It might be next, right? Develop 5th round picks into starters. That's gold.
Especially if your offensive coordinator is already calling the plays, right? So you need play callers on both sides of the ball, but it's high. Offensive line coach is high priority for an organization. So yeah, great hire there. Good get by Brian Callahan to bring in his dad. The reverse nepotism move there.
And a cool story, as you said. I mean, who's a better consigliere than my father,
Exactly. A couple of other quick notes around the NFL. I love the move of Mike McDonald bringing in someone as well respected and it's been around and been a head coach like Leslie Frazier in to be the assistant head coach there in Seattle. And then Liam Cohen leaving the college game to come back to the NFL. He was the Kentucky offensive coordinator. He's bounced back and forth between Kentucky and the Los Angeles Rams, the various jobs, and has kind of climbed up the totem pole. He's worked with Baker Mayfield in the past. Liam Cohen now going to be his, if Baker Mayfield sticks around, which I presume this helps that, he's going to be his offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now.
Don't know a ton about Cohen. I think that's another big loss is losing their offensive coordinator. Cohen has big shoes to fill to keep Baker on this path, assuming they bring him back. But you mentioned the Seattle pickup of Frazier. I love that, just having another adult in the room kind of thing. I mean, someone's been around the block more than once. I think that's a great pickup.
And speaking of nepotism and the letter K, we've got Klint Kubiak that is, and he can't officially be hired because his team is still playing. The 49ers passing game specialist, Klint Kubiak, son of Gary Kubiak, older brother to Clay Kubiak, who's the 49ers assistant quarterbacks coach, who might get a bump after this offseason now with the 49ers. Klint Kubiak is, after the Super Bowl, it looks like, because nothing can be official now, is going to be hired as the Saints offensive coordinator. So they're going Shanahan tree there in New Orleans.
One Saints note that I know we haven't brought up, but I don't know if it's official yet, but I guess it's come out that they're going to restructure Carr's contract, that he's basically guaranteed to be there for the next 2 or 3 years. So he's going to be the quarterback. I mean, they need all the cap room they can, as always. So they're restructuring quarterbacks. How's Carr fit in that system? Probably pretty decent. I mean, I do think they needed an offensive coordinator shakeup. I mean, that offense got pretty stale.
They needed a coach shakeup, and I wasn't sure if Dennis Allen or Derek Carr were going to be long for the New Orleans world, but it turns out they are, and they're going to stick with it. Of course, 12 months, a lot can change, but we'll see how that goes. And, I think it's a good hire, and it's probably a piece of the offense that would fit well with Derek Carr, and you got to do something to shake it up in the offense. I think you're exactly right about that, man.
Yeah, I do see Carr being a quick decision maker, accurate, get it out of his hands. I mean, I think he could be, fit well in that system.
Next, let's talk Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl week. It is finally here. That extra week is rough sometimes, man, but we've got every angle, I'm sure, coming to be covered here on Peacock and Williamson for 49ers versus Chiefs, Super Bowl 58. Let's just start with the roster top to bottom. Tail of the tape, 49ers Chiefs next. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by DoorDash. Did the game go to timeout? It's time to order with DoorDash. Is it halftime? That's ordering time. What about your big game football watch parties? Yeah, you can get all the favorites. You can order it ahead of time. You can order it at halftime. You can just get the buns to go with your burgers you're already throwing on the grill. Pizza, wings, whatever it is. Sunset Cantina for me here locally. I've actually got the t-shirt on. One of my favorite spots, Al Pastor Tacos. DoorDash it. Get anything you need to your door. And 50% off up to $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCKED23. Subject to change, terms apply. Don't forget, use code LOCKED23 for 50% off up to $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. Subject to change, terms apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit every time or your money back. I love the Guaranteed Fit. There's a big green check. You cannot screw up. You always get the right part for your vehicle. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So keep your car on the road. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So the first position is easy, Matt, as we go through these Super Bowl rosters as constructed for the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs, and a lot of star power on both sides. Brock Purdy obviously wins the quarterback debate here. So let's move on to I mean, there's so much crazy conversation about the quarterbacks and who Brock Purdy is and how good he is, but Patrick Mahomes is special, and playoff Mahomes is even playoff Patrick is like a different thing too, right? So that might even play up to what we already know Patrick is as a regular season quarterback.
100%. And it might shock people. I'd probably put Purdy over more quarterbacks in a head-to-head battle than you might believe, but no one goes ahead of this guy. And I'm not sure prime Tom Brady goes ahead of this guy, to be very honest with you. I think he's the best quarterback ever already. And frankly, he's only getting better. I mean, in ways, he's reinvented himself. They used to be bombs away. Now that in the cover two world, they're patient. He's so smart with his legs. It gets guys like Rashee Rice the ball in space, and Kelce's always been a portion of that. And I just tweeted this out. These are the two highest teams in yards after catch per reception. The Niners are one, as always. And Rashee Rice has more yards after the catch than any wide receiver in the league this year. And he started slow. A lot of that's Mahomes.
Pretty unbelievable.
It is.
When you look at whether stats don't tell the whole story, Brock Purdy was practically lapping the field this season with his, EPA per play and some of those. And, that's not exactly a quarterback stat. It's kind of an offense stat. And so, you got to give a lot of credit to his play caller and everything around him that helps Brock Purdy obviously play up. And it's okay to admit that he's really good and is also in a good situation and also fits that situation great. But Brock Purdy making some plays on his own. So don't sleep on Brock Purdy. Brock 30, as we call him sometimes. Matt, nobody's put up 30.
Brock 30. What am I missing here?
Brock 30, just because it rhymes with Purdy, and he always puts up 30 points on offense.
Okay. I like that. Okay.
Yeah. If he can beat Brock 30 in the Super Bowl, by the way, the 49ers are going to win this game. You know how many teams
lower scoring
30 points on the Kansas City Chiefs this year?
Probably none.
None.
Okay. Yeah.
None.
Doesn't shock me.
And they've only scored 33 times. I went through their games and playoffs, 17-10 win, right? 27-24 was a shootout with Josh Allen. That was half as many points as those two guys combined for last January, right? 26-7 against the Dolphins. You keep going back 13-12 games, 25-17, 2014 loss to the Raiders, 2017. I mean, they weren't a high scoring football team, and they outscored their opponents quite a bit, and their opponents did not score at all. This is a defense. This is a team that's led as much by their defense as their offense, which is a long way of saying when we go through the rest of this tale of the tape, I think on offense, a lot after quarterback is going to lead towards the 49ers.
I agree. And I think there is a misconception. I mean, if you're a casual listener or a casual follower and you just start picking up around Super Bowl, the Chiefs are not a high-flying team. Yeah, I mean, they are tight to the vest. The Ravens are probably the only offense I'd put ahead of them for the season. Or defense, I'm sorry.
Defense, yeah.
Yeah.
DVOA loves them. Actually, DVOA like the 49ers better than the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are right there. And obviously been playing really good ball in the playoffs, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as we've seen. In fact, the Chiefs knocked off the 2 and the 1 seed in the AFC, right? To get there?
Yeah, they did, huh? I mean, they're giant killers, and they're also giants. Unfortunately, running back's just as easy.
Running. I mean, running back's even easier in a lot of cases. As good as Pacheco is, and he runs hard, and I actually really like watching him play. But what Chris McCaffrey's done is special, and he's just been, I don't know what else to call him except for a cyborg for the 49ers, because he hasn't missed time. And he gets every inch that's blocked out there, and he's so competitive and so driven and focused. Even seeing him get off the plane, how focused his face looked. Like, this guy's on a mission this year, man. He's been phenomenal for the 49ers and so fun to watch. And I know I always say running backs don't matter. He's been as mattery as a running back could be in this day and age, right? With what he's been able to do, and how much load he's been able to carry for the 49ers this year. And no doubt he'll be involved in the Super Bowl a lot.
No doubt. I really have nothing to add to it. I mean, everyone knows who Christian McCaffrey is. Pacheco is fun to watch, but he's not close to the player McCaffrey is to me.
Should we go offensive line here? This is one that, especially with the injuries to Tooney, and I think you got to give, on paper, I thought this was going to be a real big strength of the Chiefs this year. And it's not a strength of their team coming into the Super Bowl right now, man.
Maybe I don't have a good enough feel for the Niners O-line, certainly not as good as you do, but I still think Trent Williams is probably the best lineman on the planet. And I kind of think it's Williams and the Pips. So there's 4 other dudes. You probably look at them better than that. I would think this would be an easy check mark for the Chiefs. But if there's no Tooney, and their tackles have been liabilities, more to come on that. I want to talk about that either today or tomorrow. One of my favorite bets. But this is not I could see them draft a tackle in round 1. And the interior line has been good, not great. I mean, Mahomes has to do a lot on his own.
Yeah, you got Humphrey and Smith inside that are good players. Obviously, the 49ers have the best player in Trent Williams, and they've been solid aside from that. Kind of a couple players kind of going under the radar on the 49ers offensive line, but even with, Colton McKivitz at right tackle, he hasn't played worse than Jawan Taylor has for the Kansas City Chiefs at right tackle. They've been getting solid, just fine. They're winning because of the right side of their offensive line, but they're getting solid play from the center out. Aaron Banks is a real solid player, 2nd round pick, top 50 pick at left guard. He's just good. He's not an amazing player, but he's not a liability at all. So the left side is rock solid, and they gain so many yards in the run game to the left side, and then you roll George Kittle over there, and you got Kyle Juszczyk, and so it's hard to stop them if they want to run and pound the ball on the left side of their offensive line. And as long as they can get things blocked up on the other side at a league average level, which is kind of where they've been, maybe sub league average in some cases on the right side. But Feliciano, veteran free agent, came in and has filled in for the 2nd-year guy, Spencer Burford, at right guard, and been a little bit better there. So, solid but unspectacular on the right side. But with Trent Williams and how that line can play up because of it, I think I would give the edge currently and how they're playing with the injuries on the Kansas City side to the San Francisco 49ers. But on paper, it's been not as good of a line as it should have been for the Chiefs this year.
100%. And they're paying a lot too. I mean, Taylor's a penalty machine. The left tackle's a huge problem. So I don't know if they're happy with the state of their line, especially consider the investments.
And I haven't checked in on the injury reports. The report I saw is Tooney was not going to play, but what can happen that extra week before the Super Bowl and,
right.
some high level shots that can be given to some of these players to get them out there. Is it 100% that Tooney's not going to play? Have you seen anything on that?
I think we'll have to wait till Thursday or so to really get it on top of that. That's going to be one of the stories.
As of now, it looks like Tooney would not play though for the.
That's what I'm hearing too.
Yeah. Charles Omenihu, defensive lineman, torn ACL. He's done as well for the Chiefs. So they're a little bit more banged up than the Niners are coming into this football game. Next, let's talk about some of the playmakers, the defensive side of the ball, and pass catchers. Tail of the tape: 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl 58. And you can get in on all of the Super Bowl 58 action, prop bets galore, as there always is every year for the big game with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And by the way, happy Super Bowl to everybody. The week is finally here. And if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who wins Super Bowl 58, Niners favored by 1.5. Kind of went up to 2 points, back to 1.5 right now at FanDuel. Also bets for which player will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. All right, how about tight end? This is probably the toughest one because these are the two best tight ends in the NFL. Travis Kelce is ridiculous, but George Kittle is a much better blocker than Travis Kelce. Is that enough to close the gap on one of the best receiving tight ends of all time in Travis Kelce?
I thought you were going to cheat and call it pass catchers right before we went to break there. I was like, because then your guys definitely get the nod. But if we're going blockers, it's definitely George Kittle. If we're going receivers, and Kittle's a 1,000-yard receiver. He's phenomenal.
And he's put up some awesome numbers as a receiver as well. Really good after the catch, but that connection, especially when the play breaks down on third down. I mean, it's just money between Mahomes and Kelce, and they've been really good in the playoffs. And he started to play up a little bit more, even in a couple of recent games. What was he, 11 for 100 and something yards last week? Right? It was just like, and all of his catches are for first downs. It's ridiculous. So who you take?
KC, but that's the only. And the way I was looking at this, I should have said at the start, is I'm talking about for one game in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying for the rest of their career. I mean, to me, this is probably the only team I would put ahead of the Niners. I mean, to be honest with you, with all respect to Laporta and Hawkinson and some of these young dudes, I just trust Kittle more. Plus, he's well-rounded. We didn't mention this with Juszczyk and some of the other guys that, are in the equation, but Noah Gray carries a little bit of water for me too. Their other tight ends aren't bad. They'll make a play or two,
That's fair. I'm gonna go with my guy Kittle because of his.
I love him.
Dual threat ability. Him pancaking Aiden Hutchinson last week, right? That's just something you're not going to get from Travis Kelce. And so I'll take that all day long, especially the way the 49ers are going to have to play in this football game. It's going to be a lot of fun. But two of the all-time greats at tight end and two good personalities as well. They're going to be we talk about the opening night media day Monday night a little bit later, and we'll cover it more. Nobody's going to get more podium time than George Kittle and Travis Kelce from each team.
Yeah, we see a lot of Kelce on the TV already.
And so then when you go to the receivers on the outside, it's clearly 49ers are better. They're better down the field. They're better after the catch. They're better at getting open. And that's why that's why we've been so impressed with Patrick Mahomes and what he's done this year. And he's not going to be the MVP of the league this year, but he might deserve as much consideration as some other years because of what he's been able to do with those receivers he has, because they're bottom half of the league wide receivers, right, Matt? Is that crazy?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have come around on Rice, and he's gotten better and better as well. So I remember week 10, week 8, we would say things like, boy, if just any one of these receivers could step up, at least somebody did. And I think Rice is going to be a really good player.
Now, both these teams have pretty good defenses. The 49ers have struggled a little bit recently on defense. The Chiefs have not. The Chiefs have been awesome in the playoffs. They've been awesome all season long. Steve Spagnuolo's group, and I think one of the clear places the Chiefs win defensively is in the secondary. L'Jarius Sneed gets no credit for really the shutdown type of guy he's been. He'll travel with receivers, and then McDuffie. Is McDuffie in his second year now, right?
Yeah, mostly a slot, but he went to All Pro this year. He's a great player.
Yeah, he's a Pro Bowl, All Pro caliber nickel corner that they've developed, and they got Williams on the outside as well. Edwards and Reed on the back end, not amazing, but good players. So the secondary for the Chiefs, and I like the 49ers unit quite a bit. Charvarius Ward, a former Chief, and Diamador Lenore is really good in the nickel. Unbelievable that Tashawn Gibson was just on the street last year when Jimmy Ward got hurt, because he's just as solid as you can be. He's always in the right place for the 49ers on the back end. But with Sneed and McDuffie and Reed, I think I would lean toward the Kansas City Chiefs secondary.
I would definitely. I mean, they've done a really good job of drafting defensive backs the last 2 or 3 years, getting a lot out of 3rd, 4th round type guys. The Niners have too, actually, but I think there's a little, because of Sneed, there's a little more star power. I think McDuffie's probably the 2nd best defensive back in the game. And then there's a bunch of guys competing for the next ones. I mean, it's not a knock on the Niners secondary. I think it's good. Yeah. I think Kansas City's really good.
Lost for the season with an injury. Right. That would help if he was there making plays. All Pro last year for the 49ers. How about the front 7? I mean, the front 7.
Let's just go second level here. Pure linebackers, and then we'll go D-line.
Okay.
I love the Chiefs linebackers. I mean, they got 3 or 4 that they use a ton. I mean, Gay and
Bolton.
Who's that? Bolton and Chanel. They use all over the place. And same with Thornhill.
Leo Chanel is an off-ball linebacker, but his main talent is blitzing, and he's so tight that they don't blitz him off the edge; they blitz him right up the middle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just go forward and wreck whatever's in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like Thornhill's their 4th guy, and he just shadowed Lamar a bunch. Or, I mean, they have 4 really good linebackers, 2 of which are going to be free agents, by the way. But your guys have Warner, and Greenlaw is a great player too. So, I mean, that's definitely the Niners. But I really like the Chiefs second level.
For fans that don't watch a lot of 49ers, and obviously 54, Fred Warner's so good. He's a captain of their team. He's a heart and soul player for the 49ers, getting everyone lined up. He's vocal. He's all over the place. He carries wide receivers across the field on crossing routes. It's pretty amazing what he's asked to do and what he's able to do as a run and pass defender. But if you haven't watched Dre Greenlaw play, I think a lot of people appreciate him. Watch 57 out there. He's an absolute maniac.
He's
body on the line. I don't think he's gonna have a long career. He's already got bionic parts all over his body because he's always hurting himself as much as he's hurting opponents when he's hitting them. But he flies around sideline to sideline. Former college safety, not the biggest guy, but he's fast, and he plays. He plays at a different level sometimes, and sometimes a little after the whistle, and he can get into some trouble. We saw with the dude on the sideline, Big Dom or whatever it was against the Philadelphia Eagles, and so he's a fun player to watch. 57. So I got to give the nod to the Niners there.
He might be my favorite defensive player to watch with the ball in his hands. Like he's like Walter Payton, like refuses to go down, like makes every tenth of a second worth his time. If I can run into everyone,
every 49ers player, every single 49ers coach, every single 49ers fan is yelling the same thing: get down. And he's trying to move with the ball in his hand over defenders' heads. It's like, what are you doing? The game is over. Get on the ground. Yeah, that's how he's wired. He's how he's wired.
But that's definitely a Niner advantage, but not a knock on the Chiefs. Their linebackers have been a key to them getting here.
Really good group. And obviously that's where Kyle Shanahan shines as a play caller, is trying to put those linebackers in a spin cycle too. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch there. How about the defensive lines, Matt? A couple superstars here, namely Nick Bosa and Chris Jones.
I think they cancel each other out. I mean, just like wipe them off the slate. Who's left? Chase Young has not been exciting to me. I mean, you've watched him closer than me, but I think he's going to be like the Jadeveon Clowney, rent a player for the rest of his career, and sometimes turns it on, sometimes doesn't.
Clowney ability,
it's bad.
Yeah, he might not.
Clowney's better this year.
Right. And so if there's an effort problem with him, he kind of freelances a little bit. You can really get him. One of the things I think the Chiefs are going to do and Andy Reid's going to do is misdirection and try to hand the ball to their wide receivers. And they do that around the goal line as well with Mecole Hardman, and saw it a lot with Jerick McKinnon in that offense. And there's Tony and there's Sky Moore. They can do a lot of different things there's a lot of different receivers and skill guys that go in and out of the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and trying to go misdirection, especially get 92, Chase Young, get him chasing a play too far and forgetting to keep containing on his own side. And I think we'll see a lot of that. And that's where he's been susceptible, just kind of freelancing too much. Just he's a guy that just hasn't been as locked in, and which is what held him back in Washington, right? That's the report on him, and everybody knows it now. And he had an opportunity when he was traded to the 49ers to make himself tens of millions of dollars. And it looked like he was going to do that at first because he was, getting with his old college teammate, Nick Bosa. And it looked like he was going to be that guy. And then he's kind of sliding back into old habits a little bit. And I wouldn't even be shocked if he doesn't start. And they try to go a little bit bigger people on the edge that are better at contained than him, and then have him just be more designated pass rusher in this game.
Could see all that. He also has a nasty habit of just getting pushed upfield and running past the quarterback, running, too wide an arc and go.
Yeah, a one move pass rusher. It's just, it's the grinder mentality. He hasn't shown that in the NFL, which is so key to being a great player in the league.
I still give the Niners a nod, although I think the Chiefs front is quite good, and the Karloftises of the world are very valuable. And they've, the big thing, obviously, that they did with the Tyreek Hill trade is they got all these early picks and used them on defense, and they have a variety of guys because of that. But I still think the third and fourth best players are Hargrave and Armstead.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that puts them over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. Armstead is one of the most unsung players in the league on the defensive line. He's so good. He's good against the run. He might be the guy that slides out because he's been an end prior in his career. He's been more defensive tackle, but they might go on base downs. They might go with 91 Eric Armstead on the outside because you still got first rounder Javon Kinlaw, who's been a disappointment for the 49ers and been injured a lot. He played one of his best games against the Lions last week. He might get the start inside. We'll see Armstead outside and have Kinlaw next to Hargrave on the inside. So they do have some options there on the D-line.
Give him a lot of beef and a lot of ability. I mean, I don't know if the production will be there, but a lot of ability. But so I'm giving the Niners that edge. Last one, I know if we were to talk about, though, I do give the Chiefs the special teams edge. And basically, I just steal this from Football Outsiders, which is now FTN. Our buddy Aaron Schatz. KC was 6th in DVOA. San Francisco's 25th. And so I give the special teams nod to the Chiefs.
Mitch Wishnowski's really good punter for the 49ers, but you got a rookie kicker in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's
scary.
his heart's gonna be beaten out of his chest, right? So
he's been shaky too.
See that going to the Chiefs for sure.
Yeah, Butker's very good and accomplished as well.
Absolutely. All right, those are the teams. Did you get a vibe going through that? It kind of felt pretty. It kind of felt pretty even. Obviously, the Chiefs have the quarterback advantage, which is huge. I think the 49ers have a few more total roster advantages, but it's pretty close, actually.
Yeah, I think we gave more check marks to the Niners, but as we've been saying every step of the playoffs, but Chiefs have Mahomes.
Yep.
But the Chiefs have Mahomes,
Lay off Patrick.
He's not too shabby.
All right. More from the podium. Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas. We'll have you covered all week long here on Peacock and Williamson and anything that breaks else league wide. Back tomorrow. Peacock and Williamson.